Right. So I think if we like built a time machine and we abducted the author of Genesis and we asked him like, are the 7 days literal? He'd just be like, yes, of course they are. Like it's pretty obvious in the text that it's intended to be literal. Um, for example, it just says evening and morning day one, evening and morning day two, and then we also have Ugaritic literature that uses the same formulation in a literal sense. Like it literally says, like the Hebrew, Yom Echad. We have that phrase in Ugaritic and it's used literally. So I don't think there's a doubt about that. The problem with the question you have to ask then is, do people theologically have to believe that the earth was literally created in 6 days like the ancient author believed? And the problem with that is that, for example, the Bible contains references to evil eye magic in both Hebrew and Greek, in both Hebrew and Greek texts, like the ophthalmos panaros, I think, in Greek, and then in Hebrew, it's the ayin ra throughout texts like Proverbs and the Psalms. And I think if we were to ask that individual, hey, do you believe in evil eye magic literally? He'd say yes, because everyone in the ancient world did. I also point out in the book, like, there are passages in the Bible, and if people that have had Hebrew will recognize this, where it talks about how people think with their kidneys. So there's no word for brain in the Hebrew Bible. People in the ancient world did not. People in the, let me correct myself, in the ancient Near Eastern world, like Egypt, Mesopotamia, didn't know what the brain was for. Like for example, the Egyptians would pull it out of the body when they would mummify someone. But they believe the kidneys and the hearts were, in some sense, the seat of the consciousness. So you have that, for example. You also, I believe that the Bible contains reference to like a sky dome above the heavens, which is something that everybody in the ancient Near East, almost everybody in the ancient world believed. So just because they refer to an idea, like a pre-scientific idea like that, I don't think that you're required necessarily to believe that that's scientifically valid. And to the question that you originally posed, what is the meaning of the 7 days? Going all the way back, so Genesis was written around the time of the exile. Going all the way back to like ancient Sumeria, so thousands beforehand, you have creation, you have temple building texts, which talk about how temples would be inaugurated within a 7-day time frame. We also have in the Ugaritic text, for example, Baal builds his palace in 7 days. 7 days seems to have been a typical inauguration period for a temple in the ancient Near East, and it had been for going back thousands of years. And every Old Testament scholar that I know of that I've read on the subject agrees, like it's not really contested, that Genesis 1 is a temple building text. When you look at Solomon's temple being built, when you see the tabernacle being built, there are little snippets where it'll quote Genesis, where Genesis will quote them, like they'll mutually refer to each other. So I think the reason that the 7 days were selected is not necessarily primarily for like this scientific, like as a scientific revelation. I think they were primarily chosen to communicate this idea that the universe is Yahweh's temple, which would have been an appropriate message within the context that Genesis was written. The Jews were all sitting in exile. They had been stripped of the temple, had been destroyed. And they were in this foreign land, which was headed over by the god Marduk. It looked like Marduk was stronger than Yahweh to them within that context. So Genesis 1 is this declaration. Actually, the entire universe is Yahweh's temple, and it's appropriate, therefore, that it would be constructed or inaugurated in 7 days.